Hey, VPC family. It's been a while since I've gotten to do this, but it's my turn to bring the weekly devotional. Again, I'm so glad. Um, I don't think I need to tell you, but this has been a really long and strange summer and strained summer. Um, it seems like we've been given a lot of lemons this year, and maybe you're like me, and maybe you've gotten a little bit of practice at making lemonade. I don't know. June 15th, that was supposed to be the week that we went to. Took the junior high to the Edge, which is a conference for junior high students up at Covenant College. It's a great time, but that got canceled way back in the spring. So instead, I had that week kind of free. So took a vacation, went with my family and some friends. We went down to the beach, and one of the friends that went with us, he's a diver too. So we decided, hey, we're gonna at least get away one day and go diving. And the day that we picked, the marine forecast wasn't like super promising, but it wasn't real bad either. So we thought, yeah, we'll chance it. And got up that morning, beautiful sunshine. Got to ride in his convertible. That's right, a convertible. Got to ride to the boat. Felt like a kind of like a celebrity or something there. And so we get to the boat, and it wasn't the cleanest looking boat I've ever been on or anything. But we headed out in the bay, and y'all, it was already rough on the bay. The captain had brought his little dog. The little dog got seasick before we even left the bay, before we even got out in the Gulf. We got out in the Gulf, and it is just like, it's bananas. It wasn't huge seas, but just like super choppy, like real chaotic. Just, the waves weren't any kind of rhythm, and we were just getting beat up all morning on this boat. And the dive master, who is he's the guy that sets the anchors like at the dive site. He kind of leads the dive and stuff. Normally they're kind of guys that get you pumped up for the dive and all. This guy was like going through, like telling us, everything he had done wrong diving, like huge, horrible mistakes. Like, dude, how'd you even do that? How'd you manage to do that? So that's the kind of stuff he's telling us. We get to the first dive, and like it was just kind of a day of just kind of chaos, really. I had a problem with my dive computer. I didn't realize it until I got in the water. Had to get back out, get all that sorted out while other people were in the water on the surface, bobbing around, getting seasick and stuff. Then after the first dive coming up, the dive master like lost his computer. I've never even seen that happen. It pulled off his wrist somehow. He going down to set the anchor for the second dive. In 28 years of diving, I've never seen this happen. Never even come close. The guy gets caught in the propeller of the prop of the boat. Now, by God's grace, all it did was rip off his booty and his fin. It didn't cut him real bad. We thought the dude's foot had gotten cut off or something. It was bad. Then added to that, this was just like this boat was just hands down the worst boat ever. It was just real old and crummy, like not well maintained. There were pieces of the gunnel missing, the side of the boat, like chunks of fiberglass broken out. There's water sloshing around all over the deck. I've never been on a boat that got that much water on it. It was crazy. They had the engine compartment open for some reason between dives. I don't even know what that was about, but I didn't even want to ask. But water sloshing around everywhere. In between dives, we had to help a vessel in distress. These guys were taking on water, kind of like we were, but I guess it was a problem for them. It really started feeling kind of like Gilligan's Island, like 3-hour tour kind of deal. That's the kind of the territory I thought we were in. And so after the second dive, after the last dive of the day, we're about to head back. They hadn't pulled anchor yet. And so we're out there rocking around. I'm holding on, just getting beat up. And I step on something. I'm like, man, what is that? And I reach down, and there was a screw rolling around on the deck of this boat, like with an open engine compartment, mind. They could have fallen in there, but there was a screw rolling on the deck. So what I'm telling you is I was on a boat that literally had a screw loose. And it really, it made me kind of think of something. This whole world has a screw loose. And as Christians, that really shouldn't surprise us. But if you're anything like me, I don't know, it still kind of catches me off guard sometimes. I think about everything that's going on right now with the pandemic, with social injustice and social unrest, and we got cities burning and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just, and we don't know what to do, and that kind of leaves us with this feeling like that can lead to real fear and anger because we don't know what to do. And so this whole time has made me think of, there's been this passage rolling around in my head, and it's from Romans 8, and specifically verses 22 through 30. So Paul writes this: "For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. And not only the creation, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for adoption as sons, the redemption of our bodies. For in this hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope. For who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know what to pray for as we ought. But the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. And he who searches hearts knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, in order that he might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those whom he predestined, he also called. And those whom he called, he also justified. And those whom he justified, he also glorified." And, all of creation is groaning right now. And you don't have to look very hard to see it. I mean, think about it. We hadn't even discussed like natural disasters and all that kind of stuff. I mean, here we are starting off with the hurricane season. And, the good news for us as Christians is, going back to this idea of like, us not having the answers, and that can lead to fear and to, anger and stuff. Like, we're not called to have all the practical answers. We're not. As a matter of fact, Paul in Romans 8 gives us the freedom to not even know exactly what we're praying for. We're simply called to just earnestly pray, and that the Spirit, it intercedes for us. The Spirit, he intercedes for us. We're called to hope, and that's what we have to offer the world. Paul reminds us here in verse 23 that we have the first fruits of the Spirit. So that regeneration has begun, but it's not complete yet. And that full redemption is yet to come. And then in verse 28, it's one of those kind of like well-known verses from the Bible. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good. And it's one of those verses I think that's taken out of context a whole lot. And so the good that Paul is talking about, it's not that somehow this pandemic is going to like pay off for us. Like, we're going to make wise investment strategies or something like that. But the way it works for our good is, he goes on to say in verse 29, is that these things we're going through, these trials, these struggles, that it conforms us to the image of Jesus. And that's how it works together for our good. And, like today, I don't have any answers, like for all that's going on. I don't know how to solve the coronavirus pandemic. I don't know how to end social injustice. I just know the truth, that if you have chosen Jesus as your Lord and Savior, it's because God has called you. And if you've been called, then you're also justified, which means that we don't have to bear shame and guilt for our sin or for the sins of others. And if you've been predestined, you've been called, and you've been justified, you're also in the process of being glorified. And that's a process that's not going to end. It's an ongoing process in this life. It's not going to end until you come face to face with the one whose glory that we are radiating, and that is Jesus Christ. And how about this? It's not going to be just us that's made new. It's going to be all of creation. All of creation. Everything that's broken in the world is going to be made right. And that is worth hoping for.